Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Hello and welcome to Phoenix Business Radio, broadcasting live from the Max 6 Entrepreneurial Center right here in Tempe, Arizona, where we help build businesses and connect you with the right people. And I've had just a few minutes to sit with Ben Brown already, and I can tell that we're going to have a fantastic conversation today. Please welcome Ben Brown. He's the owner of BSL Nutrition. And are you a native to Arizona? I didn't ask that.
I am not. I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And how long have you been here?
Oh, geez. Over 20 years now. U of A undergrad, ASU for graduate school. Met my wife while I was in grad school, and we stuck around.
Excellent. We've been talking about your wife off air a little bit, and she is your partner.
She is.
Tell me her name.
Christina,
because we've been saying wife,
Yep.
and
Right,
now
right.
a proper introduction to Christina, and I'm sure she's here with us in spirit. So, Ben, tell us about BSL Nutrition, who you are, who you serve, and then I can't wait to kind of do a deeper dive around why you're in this business and the impact that it's having on your clients.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited for this conversation and appreciate you and the opportunity to share. So BSL Nutrition stands for Body Systems Labs. We've been in the industry for over 15 years now. I said I've been in the Valley for over 20, and I've really been rooted in exercise, health, wellness, nutrition for the entirety of my career. And so at BSL Nutrition, we really work with highly driven individuals to help them build a better body and create the energy to show up for their family. And we have a pure science proven results systematic process that we leverage to help our clients do just that. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But at the end of the day, our objective really is to help our clients change their belief system around what it means to be healthy and really go against the grain of everything that's rooted into conventional wisdom around dieting and fad diets and all of these types of things. And a lot of it stemmed from my experiences growing up and a lot of the challenges that I struggled with my health through high school, through sports, and ultimately to the point where I really realized I needed to kind of change the culture around nutrition and health and fitness. And so that's what we do at BSL Nutrition is all of those things.
I'm still amazed as I've made some changes for myself, how many people still aren't in control of what they put in their bodies.
I mean, this is the world that we're living in, right? It's like you have to be so proactive to and do so much diligence to understand what it is that you're consuming and how it's affecting you. And the reality is just with our day to day, with our society. I mean, like I said, you have to be so overly proactive because otherwise we're going to be sabotaged, for lack of a better term. It's just there's so much lack of information, and everyone wants to do better, right?
Yep.
Everyone wants to do better. They want to live a healthier lifestyle. They realize the implications, but it really is confusing. There's a lot of conflicting information. And so we really want to kind of set the record straight and be very matter of fact with people. There's no smoke and mirrors, right? There's no secrets to how to accomplish this.
There's also no shortcut.
Exactly. There's no shortcuts and it's not easy, but it can be simple. And that's really our objective is to help simplify the process. In fact, we say, part of our slogan is smart nutrition made simple. We want to help you make smarter decisions in the most simplistic way possible because like we were discussing, so many of us we're all quote unquote busy. Right? A lot of people have families, they have young kids, they're navigating the nuances of a career, of a family, of all of the stressors that come with day-to-day life, to say nothing of, pandemic and what have you. And so it really does need to become this simplistic process by virtue of helping us change our mindset. And you understand that, change our mindset around how we're approaching our day to day, how we manage our stressors, and how we ultimately develop the skills and the tools to change our behaviors around our nutrition, around our exercise, and just around planning, preparation, and the whole thought process involved.
I love it. What is the greatest compliment that you hear? So say you guys are at the end of the day, you're getting ready to go to bed and you're thinking about a client and they've said this or they've shared this story. What is that thing that yes, they get it. They finally get it. Is there something in particular? Is it my pants feel better, or I look in the mirror and I smile at myself, or I didn't have a craving? Is it all of those things, or is it something different?
That's a great question. The biggest compliment that we receive is the empowerment that our clients get from the coaching process, is the autonomy that they walk away with to know that they're in control of their nutrition decisions. And I think that that's also the biggest limiting factor for people, is that they feel relegated to myopic, overly restrictive, dichotomous, black or white plans, right? These plans that are green light, eat these foods, red light, never eat these foods. You can only have this many calories. You have to exercise in this way. And frankly, that's just not how the human body works. And it's also not how human psychology works. And so the ultimate objective for us is to empower the client with the tools and the skills so that they can walk away from a program like ours having become their own best nutrition detective, right? To
Mm.
know, okay, these are the foods that I enjoy first and foremost, that I know I quote unquote can have, right? Because there shouldn't be foods that are off limits. And then with respect to that, though, how do I take ownership over these decisions, Karen? How do I become the owner of this process so that I can do what works best for me? And really understand, oftentimes people walk into the program and say, well, I want to lose 10 or 20 or 30 pounds. Totally reasonable. But what's underlying that, right? Why is that important for you? Is it for your confidence? You want to love what you see in the mirror? You want to set a better example for your kids? You want to start showing up in the way that you committed to for your spouse through your vows and upholding those commitments? Like, what is underlying the 10, 20, 30 plus pounds that you're going to be able to root into when things start to get hard?
Mm.
And at the end of the day, that's what's required for someone to truly change their identity and to walk into the new persona that they're creating. What does that person look like? What does it feel like? Who do you want to become? So we have to change.
Wow. I know your bio shares a little bit about your background and the types of individuals and or companies that you work with. Tell us a little bit about who you've been blessed to serve with this career.
Yeah, so it's been an adventure to say the least. I mentioned how I went to U of A undergrad and I came up here to ASU for grad school, and I studied exercise and wellness here in grad school. And I was really blessed with the opportunity to really specialize in strength and conditioning. I had an amazing team of colleagues and mentors through Arizona State University. And so I was kind of just thrown to the wolves. We started training athletes. We were working with Chandler Gilbert Community College athletes. At the same time, I was doing an internship with Arizona Cardinals and as part of their strength staff. So initially, I kind of was driven by, hey, I want to work with high performance athletes. Like, who doesn't? Especially an upcoming like personal trainer. But what I realized very quickly is that wasn't really what motivated me. I had experienced a couple things in high school that helped lead me to this trajectory. One, the trajectory of health and fitness. And one aspect of that was I had a lot of stomach issues growing up. So
I can
you as
relate.
well. And so high school was tough in that I had a lot of gastrointestinal issues, IBS, acid indigestion, and the conventional medicine route couldn't really figure out what was going on. Now, my parents love them to death, but baby boomers also of really kind of rooting into, well, whatever the doctor says goes. And having been a child, who when I was sick was on an antibiotic without fail,
Right.
time and time and time again. And what I realize now, some years and years and years later, is that had really wreaked havoc with my digestive health, with the health of my gut bacteria, the balance of good to bad gut bacteria, the health of the what we call the microbiome.
Mhm.
And so I had reached a point where I'd had a lot of food sensitivities, and it was quite painful through high school. And I was on kind of endless rounds of antacid medication, and nothing could really figure out what was going on. And so I had to take it upon myself to just start to try and understand, well, what works for me, what doesn't work for me, what foods do I need to avoid, what foods can I consume, and that started one aspect of the journey. And then the second aspect was my junior year of high school. I tore my ACL
Mm.
on our first football scrimmage. And I had college sport aspirations. That kind of squashed that because it took me out for the entire season. But I became absolutely enthralled with the rehabilitation process. And so, between kind of rehabbing my body, physically, between proverbially rehabbing my health through my nutrition, it really spurred this deep interest and love for human physiology and biochemistry. And so that's kind of what I studied in college. I did end up playing collegiate sports. So I played a year of football. I played rugby at University of Arizona, which was fantastic, and just culturally, communally, the camaraderie was absolutely everything that I needed in life at that juncture.
Yeah.
This floundering 19, 20-year-old kid just looking for some guidance. And my coach at the time was really profound in giving me that direction and ultimately the accountability that I needed to start showing up in a bigger and better way. And was fortunate to have had that program to help me get through undergrad without drinking myself, under the table or just failing out of school.
Yeah.
And so I was able to sweet talk my way into Arizona State University, where I, like I said, studied strength and conditioning. And that was the impetus to kind of determine, okay, I love strength and conditioning, but what I also love is the physical therapy process. I also know the value of nutrition, especially as it pertains to an individual's physique, their overall health, and their performance. And so I had a couple different jobs out of grad school. One was within a physical therapy clinic, but very quickly I realized that I'm unemployable and that it was going to be up to me to kind of determine my own future in business.
And here you are.
And here I am. Well, let's see, like I said, over 15 years ago. So I graduated from ASU in 2005.
And opened your business shortly
I
after
opened my
that?
business around 2007.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you and your wife opened it together, or you were already doing it on your own?
No, I was a solopreneur for years. Christina didn't join the business until 2020.
Oh, okay.
And COVID was the impetus to help her get out of corporate America. And it's been an absolute blessing.
And 3 kiddos, you already told me that,
Right.
who are home for summer break.
They are. And now, thank goodness they're in camp.
Right.
Because we do work from home. So I was telling you, we have the privilege and the curse of working from home, of obviously having a marriage, of running a family together and running the business together. And so it's been challenging, but extremely rewarding.
And all of your work with clients is online,
Yes. So
worldwide.
we do. We have clients, in Japan, in the UK, in Australia, in the UAE.
Yeah.
So, but the vast majority of our clients are
But how
are in the
great that
US.
this skill set and the way in which you put your program together makes it accessible for anybody, anywhere. And talk to us a little bit more about high performing. So, if we have somebody listening or watching on LinkedIn and they're thinking, great guy, I'm curious, I want to learn more, I need some help in this area, who is a good fit for you client wise?
Yeah, well, speaking of high performing, I mean, we really work with a lot of highly driven individuals, decision makers, C-suite executives, director level individuals, entrepreneurs, and just badass moms and dads that are willing to take control and ownership over their health, regardless of the stage of life that they're in. My wife's a great example of someone who's been in corporate America for the entirety of her career on and off, but she was a collegiate athlete. She played volleyball in college. And it's really that mindset of being coachable, taking ownership over your decisions, showing up and doing the work, really just having the right roadmap to be able to follow and the right co pilot, if you will, to help you navigate that journey. And so those are the type of people that do really well with our programs. They are accountable. They take responsibility, like I said, and they're willing to show up and communicate and understand that their journey is going to be different from someone else's. But it's really just the trials and tribulations that are going to help them move from one point to the next.
Mhm. Hmm. I have so many thoughts and questions run through my mind. Let's go back to mindset a little bit. That's a key part of the program, right?
hmm
So, how often do you find somebody comes in and begins to work with one of you as coaches, and even though they're high performing in probably many areas of their life, they're stuck? And does that
hmm
happen? They're just stuck around this. I own my body. I know what I need to put into it. How do you help them shift that?
It always happens.
Yeah. I kind of
I
lobbed
mean,
that
listen,
ball
you
up on
100%.
purpose.
I mean, listen, so I mentioned our pure science proven results process. And one of the things that
Say that again, the name of it.
it's our pure science proven results process.
Pure, P-E,
Pure,
oh, pure,
pure.
P,
Yeah,
pure
pure
science.
science. So within that, there's really three pillars. Is we leverage the science of data collection. I mean, I have two master's degrees, one in exercise science. I ended up going back to school later on, years later, to get a degree in clinical nutrition. So we respect, acknowledge, and embrace the scientific process. We need to be able to leverage data to make informed decisions, just as any good business owner is going to do. They're going to look at their budget, they're going to look at P&Ls, they're going to have KPIs, and they're going to say, well, if I want to go here, work backwards and say, these are the steps that we need to do to create
Hmm.
in order to facilitate the outcome, right? And so we fully understand, especially in the scope of nutrition, of weight loss, of fitness, is that there's metrics that need to be respected and understood around calorie intake, around weight, around circumference measurements, around certain aspects of physiology. We can talk about blood work, around sleep, around hydration.
Age?
Age absolutely is a factor, right? To some degree.
Hmm.
And genetics is even a factor, but objectively, objectively is we have these parameters. And by the way, this is what every single diet focuses on: calories in, calories out,
Hmm.
right? Now, if that was all that we needed, we would be way more successful in the dieting industry than we are. And the reality is we just generally, whatever, 95% of diets fail throughout this kind of general statistic. But it's my opinion and what we've observed over close to 20 years now, that the reason those fails is because they're not factoring in mindset. They're not factoring in the psychology of behavior change,
Hmm.
which is the second pillar of our process, of our proprietary process. And so when we can help our client understand that there's emotional components, there's components of stress that we actually are going to change as a person, that there's fundamental feedback loops built in from the time that we were a child that drive the decisions that we make around, despite the fact that we quote unquote know what to do. If I'm driving home after a long day, right, and I know I'm going to pull into the driveway and then I'm going to get absolutely sabotaged with the kids and the family and the responsibilities, there might be decisions that I'm going to make that irrespective of me just wanting to have a six pack, right? Or it's been a long week and it's Friday, and despite the fact that I probably shouldn't have the glass of wine, I'm going to have it. And I might have two. And then I might have the dessert because I'm going to say, screw it. And the white knuckling willpower can't hold up to the emotional power, the dopamine boost, right? Of the neural drive that comes from eating enjoyable
You
foods.
know what mine is? Jack in the Box sourdough bacon cheeseburger from my NAU undergrad
Oh,
days.
really?
Yeah, late at night, and I didn't party a lot, but when I did, and I was heading home back to the dorm, Jack in the Box, the only thing open at that time of night,
Yep.
sourdough bacon cheeseburger. Still, I'm 58 years old, still gets
That's
me
it.
every time.
It's,
And I have to be careful, because if I'm left to my own devices, it doesn't matter what time of day,
I
I'm
believe it.
pulling through that drive-through, and it's got to have fries and the Dr. Pepper too,
Well,
and then I'm in trouble.
mine is, I'll commiserate here because mine is frozen chocolate chip cookies.
Oh,
Regardless of where I'm at, if I have one of those in front of me, it's over. So like those crumble cookies, you take one of those and you throw those in the freezer.
oh
Forget
no.
it. My wife knows. Do not bring those things in the house because
Right?
they're going down. Anyways,
We digress. So third pillar, sorry about that bird walk.
well, so you lobbed up sort of the psychology of behavior change, which is the
Yeah,
second pillar of our process. We have to help the individual understand that there's more powerful factors at play than just knowing what to do and
right.
just being relegated to controlling your calories and thinking that you need to do better, right? Or, how many times have we been down this road of subscribing to a nutrition plan or a calorie plan, and invariably it fails because real life gets in the way, right? All of the roadblocks around kids, around family, around stress, around death in the family, around sickness,
Travel for a lot of
all of
business.
it.
So, yeah.
And we don't plan for those things, but they're part of our everyday life. So why are we not factoring those things in? And so the last pillar is the art of coaching. This is where an experienced,
Hmm.
knowledgeable, and dedicated coach can help you walk through and traverse the roadblocks that are invariably going to fall in your path, right? Because without the skills to be able to do that, you're bound to quote unquote fail. And I'm not going to call it failure because I don't look at it as failure. I look at all of these experiences as opportunities to learn and grow.
But we feel like a failure
You
when we're
do feel like a
experiencing it.
failure, which you shouldn't,
Right.
but you can't not, based on the way our culture and society treats these dieting practices. It's not
Right.
your fault that you feel like you failed, that you feel guilt, that you feel shame, that you feel regret when you can't subscribe to what was an unrealistic plan to begin with because you haven't addressed the change that needs to happen between the ears,
Hmm.
right? And perhaps you don't have the accountability to help you realistically walk through the process because we're only human, right? And we're going to experience challenges and we're going to rationalize things like me and the frozen cookie, regardless of where I am, whatever emotions are at play in that moment. Sometimes I can't break through that feedback loop and or I haven't put in the time or energy to be able to do that. And that's what we help our clients do. And so through that process, we actually created another process, what we call our nutrition seasons approach. And it's really just zooming out and saying, listen, what if instead of myopically focusing on just cutting calories or ramping up exercise in perpetuity, because that's what people feel like they need to do. It's like, okay, all I need to do is just cut my calories down, but we stay there, and then invariably we fail, right? Or we can't subscribe to the plan. But then we say, okay, I'll start again Monday, or I'll start again after. Okay, I'm going on vacation, but then I'll start again. Or well, New Year's is coming up, so I'll start at New Year's. So we're always in this perpetual state of dieting. That's not how human physiology works. Instead, we need to look at it as a seasonal approach, much like an athlete would, much like a business person would. If there's going to be seasons where we're really driving hard on business. For this quarter, we're going to focus on these one or two or three pivotal things. Next quarter, we're going to take a step back. Maybe we're going to work a little more on our operations, build the foundation a little bit. And then the following quarter, we're going to build, and we're going to bring in some team members, what have you. And so that's the way that we approach the nutrition process. Like I said, nutrition seasons approach, to the degree that we really look at a year or more with an individual. Instead of 30 days or 90 days or 75 hard, we look at a year and we say, within the context of this year, when are we actually going to diet? When are we going to be in maintenance? When do we need more flexibility and freedom? It's summer break for the kids. We are traveling as a family. I want to be able to eat more food. I want to be able to have some cocktails here and there. And there's no reason you shouldn't. That's not unreasonable, right? But the psychology is such that we're always feeling guilty for making decisions that are perfectly reasonable decisions. So when we can give people permission to do that, it changes, like I said, it changes their belief system around what it means to be healthy. It changes their perspective on the dieting process, to the degree that we can help you lose weight, we can help you lose body fat, we can help you get healthier, but also rebuild that relationship with food, with your body, how to function realistically in the world, in the real world. And that's what it's all about.
What I'm hearing is planning is prevention.
Yeah, 100% is planning and preparation, but knowing how to plan, knowing how to think ahead, knowing what obstacles are going to fall in your path, knowing how to have the tough conversations, knowing how to communicate effectively with your social support system.
Mhm.
Do you have a social support system?
That's of benefit to you when it comes
Correct.
to proper nutrition and
Correct.
mindset.
And just because you just signed up for a diet plan or doesn't mean that your significant other knows how to effectively support you.
Right.
And it also doesn't mean that just because they're making decisions that you guys always
Doesn't
made,
make them wrong.
it doesn't mean that they're sabotaging you. It means you probably haven't communicated the process effectively to them and what specifically you need from them so that they can support you in the way that I'm sure they want to be able to support you. So it's like, how intangible are all of these conversations? How intangible is the thought process around the planning, the preparation, and giving ourselves the opportunity to just step back from focusing so much on calories and exercise for a moment. And that's really, in a big picture, is helping you, like I said, is just change your identity, become a new person, become the person that you want to become, and infuse the behaviors that that person embodies.
What about the times when we're not motivated? What's the best advice that you have for people when, when we need to be motivated and that motivation might be gone?
Well, we're not always going to be motivated. I mean,
Right.
people show up to work every day. I guarantee there's individuals listening to this podcast that
Maybe even sitting in this room.
maybe even that listen, that run their own businesses, that run large businesses. And I promise you, they don't want to show up for work every single day, but they do because they have people that depend on them. And they have a bigger vision and mission at play. So it really comes down to, what is your vision? What is your mission? What is your personal operating systems, right? We have standard operating procedures for businesses. What does your own personal operating system look like? What values do you uphold that are going to help you infuse the discipline to ensure that you show up in a bigger and better way every single day? For me, it's my family. It's my kids. It's the example that I set. It's the example I'm setting for my clients every single day.
Right.
By showing up and leading the charge, right? And so invariably there's discipline required, just like anything in life. It's just a matter of how important the goal is for you. And that's like, Karen, that's where I talked to, just losing 10 pounds for a lot of people is too surface level. It's not
Right.
powerful
It's not
enough.
beneath. Right. Why those 10 pounds?
Right. Why is that important to you at the end of the day? Is it your wife isn't looking at you the same way anymore? Right? You're lacking confidence. When you walk into the boardroom and your suit coat is tight, or that you don't get the respect that you deserve or that you want, right? I mean, those are more powerful drivers.
Yep.
And so that's where it's waking up every single day, looking in the mirror, and it's saying, what do I want, and how do I create what I want, and how do I embrace the discomfort that is required to get what it is that I want? Because, especially now, it's too easy to live in comfort, right? We're not going to,
Even when we're uncomfortable.
yeah, I mean, that's exactly that. Thank you.
Yep. Our mind is designed for sameness, right? And so comfortable might be, I'm terribly uncomfortable.
You're comfortably uncomfortable.
Right.
Right. And so how do you start to embrace the discomfort of the change?
And that's even a possibility that I
Correct.
can shift my story in the way I think.
Right.
Love
And
it.
then how do I start to lean into that every single day? Just lean into it. And that's especially when we talk about changing the mindset around the dieting aspect. Is like, okay, cool. So you tried keto, you tried carnivore, or you went, you did 75 hard, or you did Whole30, or you did HCG, or you're doing Optavia, whatever it is. If and when you come to the realization that that isn't working for you, it doesn't make you a bad person. It's a learning opportunity. And so why can't you simply reflect on that and acknowledge, well, what about it wasn't working?
Yeah.
Was it actually the foods? Was it the fact that I couldn't enjoy dinner with my family? Was it the fact that I felt too restricted? Was it the fact that it wasn't sustainable? Was it the fact that it didn't align with my what I enjoy doing on a day-to-day process? Was it the fact that I just felt terrible? Whatever it is, acknowledge that and then run with it. Say, okay, at least I've learned something. How do I take that and apply it to the next thing?
You spoke about, feeling guilty a bit ago, and stepping away from shame and guilt and standing in the presence of the reality and being honest with ourselves really matters. And to have an accountability partner in a coach like you guys would make all the difference in the world. I can tell you my deepest, darkest secrets. I can tell you what I'm up against. And having you have done the walk before me and knowing the data behind how my body mechanic works sounds like it's the perfect combination.
I always question, I think that with your listeners, they probably will resonate with this, but even coaches need coaches.
For sure.
Right. And so if I'm a coach and I don't have a coach, what is it saying about my belief system in the coaching process?
Mhm.
And so I think it's important to acknowledge and just transparently, it's like I have a coach. I have a business coach. I have a financial advisor. I have a nutrition coach. I have someone who writes my training programs. I even have a men's group that I belong to communicate and talk with other men, husbands, fathers, and business owners.
Mhm.
And I think that higher level of accountability is absolutely crucial in helping us create the discomfort that we need to grow,
Yes.
to be challenged. I'm an athlete. I think any hard charging individual has that athlete mindset of knowing that they need to get uncomfortable,
Yep.
but they also need to be challenged
Yep.
to do so. And so that's what I think is the biggest missing piece in this, we'll call it this dieting process, in this lifestyle change process, is actually having someone who you are accountable to so that you can show up as your best self, so that you can lean into the discomfort, and who's going to challenge you to continually, perpetually get better. And it's not just having the coach, but it's having a full support system, a community around you of like-minded individuals who are going to invariably force you to elevate.
Raise the bar. Yeah.
Yeah, raise the bar.
And they're not just talking the talk, they're walking the walk. They're doing it for their own lives and for their own reasons as well.
Yeah.
You mentioned 75 hard a couple of times. I have to share this with you. A little over a year ago, I was on a hike with my dog coming back towards my home about a half mile away. And as I was walking, it was in the evening, I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to start 75 hard. I just made a decision in that
Yeah.
moment. About, I don't know, 2 minutes later, my dog knocks me over because there was a little dog walking past us. I fall, the man with that little dog, and I hear a snap,
Oh,
and I broke my hip.
oh my gosh.
And I'm not very tall, so I'm not far from the ground. So my first thought was, when I kind of came to, was, oh, I should probably get my bones checked. I've since found out that I have osteoporosis. And then my next thought was, I've fallen and I can't get up.
Oh no.
And I ended up in the hospital,
Oh
but
no.
taken by ambulance. I had a full hip replacement. And laying there, I really was joking with myself and dear friends who were checking in on me. Here I was, and I even told the paramedics, I'm like, here I was thinking that I was going to do 75 hard tomorrow. They're like, well, that's going to you're going to have to put that on hold,
Yeah.
right? In the hospital in recovery at 57, I realized that something, for at least for me, some of these goals that I put out in front of myself. I grew up an athlete as well, not a great athlete, but I was very athletic, just not really good at what I did. And that was a story I kept telling myself.
Mm,
And I decided when I was laying in the hospital, you know what? I need to train for life. I need to train for my
mm,
70s and 80s.
mhm.
And so my recovery, with the help of my PT and my nutritionist, of course, and my coach and all the people that are in my life, as you
Right.
mentioned, as a coach myself, I need to make sure that I've got all my accountability partners and the people who help me really do a better job. I recovered very quickly. I've since jumped out of an airplane, do a tandem dive. I just did a sprint triathlon in Tempe Town Lake not too long ago. And my mentality is really, I eat because I want to live well and I want to stay physically healthy so I
Yeah.
can see be in relationship with my grandkids and my kids.
Yeah.
But here it was that the impetus was, I'm going to do this quick goal, which is fantastic, and hooray for people who do
For sure.
75 hard. And
For
I'm not knocking that, but for me, I realized that would have been far more pressure than I needed in my life. And with my dog's help, I had to have a reset.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, so it's fascinating. When I talk about osteoporosis, it also makes me want to ask a question. So what about someone with diabetes or with some sort of other autoimmune situation or a heart condition or something like, what I've shared? Do you work with people who have a diagnosis and they're on some sort of medication and
Mhm.
and you're able to help those people as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've had a number of clients reverse type 2 diabetes. So get off diabetes meds, actually normalize their blood sugar levels.
Fantastic.
We have individuals with autoimmune disease. Now, we are not medical
I
professionals.
hear that.
I do have a degree in clinical nutrition, so we can speak to some of the nuances of metabolic dysregulation, and really what we do and what we've tailored our program is really around how to reverse metabolic damage that happens as we get older
It's
by
reversible.
very much so, in terms of, listen, if we are carrying more body fat, more adiposity, if we're carrying more visceral body fat, so that's body fat that's deep around our organs, which is very hormonally influencing and not in a good way. It's very hormonally influencing body fat tissue for people with high blood pressure, with people with high cholesterol, with poor blood sugar regulation. These are all is becoming more and more common. So especially as we get older, our overweight population is sort of stagnating, but our obese population is exponentially going up. And so we're seeing kids with, metabolic dysfunction now. And it's, by the way, it's no longer called adult onset diabetes. Remember, type 2 diabetes
Yes.
used to be called adult onset. It's no longer called that because kids are getting type 2 diabetes. So my point in all of this is that I'll argue that every single personal trainer, every single nutritionist has a responsibility to know how to navigate metabolic dysfunction to the degree that, listen, this is not rocket science. Like, we're helping people eat more normalized meals, get more protein, eat more vegetables, manage their calorie intake, move their body more efficiently, and frankly just move their body more in ways that are going to be able to support their long-term health, longevity, lean muscle tissue, which, by the way, is the muscle of longevity, is lean muscle mass. And so as we get older, and this is a lot of the conversations that we have with clients, is their why ends up no longer really being, especially we'll say in their 40s and 50s, the why is no longer so ego driven around, I just want to look great with my shirt off at the beach. It's sure that's still important.
But it's now a perk and a benefit,
It is.
not the reason that but
It-
somebody's doing it.
It's the perk to say, well, I want to live a long time. I have kids that are responsible
Yep.
for, that I'm responsible for. I want to leave a legacy, and I want my kids to know and develop these behaviors and habits. And part of that is supporting and building lean muscle tissue as we get older, because that is responsible for quality of life, is being strong, right? Of being able to do the things that you want to do, to be able to get up and down from chairs. And while that may not resonate with people listening right now, just think about your parents and what's going on with your parents, whether they're gone or whether they're still here, but they're struggling because they can't move and they're
Yes.
debilitated to this quality of life that I know you don't want for yourself. I don't want this for me. And I see this in my parents. And so it becomes imperative that part of that ownership and responsibilities, that you're doing the things now, that you're supporting lean muscle tissue, that you are strength training consistently, and you're moving your body enough to be able to offset many of the things that come with our modern day society,
Sedentary
food, sedentary
lifestyle.
lifestyle,
Yeah.
all of those types of things.
Can I change the direction of our conversation?
Please do.
Businesses. I believe so we talked a lot about working one-on-one. How do you support businesses and entities like that? You guys do work with
Yeah. So in
organizations.
2015, we started a corporate wellness program. And that was the same time that we took our business online. So I had a couple young kids, was pulling early morning shifts in the gym,
Yeah.
the late night shifts in the gym, was missing out on their life, realized, okay, there's got to be a better way to approach this. So we kind of took our business online. But we've had the opportunity to work with a couple companies now over the years. What we do with the companies is really, we'll do lunch and learns. So we'll do local or virtual lunch and learn conversations, really just educating their employees on everything that we're talking about.
Yeah.
In fact, I've got one tomorrow for a local construction company, and we're talking about eating on the go and how we can build out healthier plates, how we can
Little
make,
sound bites that are
yeah,
digestible, huh? I mean, not play on words there, but these opportunities of these lunch and learns to give them something that tangible that they could really
yeah.
act on right away. That's a great way to be in relationship with a company that cares about their employees.
And that's it. And companies are realizing, like, listen, it's in your best interest to take care of your employees, especially around their health,
Yes.
fitness, wellness, mental health. These employees, especially nowadays, I guess, you know, finding the right employees, finding employees, period,
Yeah.
right, is pivotal to ensure that, okay, you've got an incredible employee base. Take care of them, spend money on them, help them live healthier lifestyles, help them make better decisions. Because what we very clearly know is the employee that is exercising, that is eating healthier food, that has more confidence, that has more energy, they're going to be more productive. They're going to get along better with their peers. They're going to show up more consistently. They're going to have less sick days. They are going to cost you less
Mhm.
in the long run because they're a healthier individual.
And if you're modeling that in an alignment with that individual, they're going to stay longer and be more dedicated and committed to the mission and the
Right.
purpose of the business because you all are singing from the same sheet of music.
And why shouldn't
Yeah.
that be part of your community and culture?
Yes. More and more, we're seeing that in the interviews that we've had. And obviously, folks like you who are bringing that into organizations is huge. How does somebody get a hold of you if they're interested or listening? They're like, oh my gosh, our company needs this. We'd love to align with you guys. What does that look like for a
Yeah.
business owner?
Just through our website or contacting me personally, just through our website, bslnutrition.com.
Mm-hmm.
And we can have a conversation around what they're looking for and how we can support their employees. And, you know, even some of the more progressive companies are even subsidizing their employees to work with us
Good.
so that it's a win-win, right? You've got us standing there in front of their employees, supporting them. You've got the company standing behind the employees, supporting them so that the employee knows, like, look how many people I have. Look at the support system I have in
Mhm.
place. We've made it unreasonable for them to fail.
Love it. Love that. Yeah, you can't fail when you have the right support structure
Yeah.
and the right guidance and the data to make sure that people are taking care of themselves the way they need to take
Yeah,
care
I
of
mean, how
themselves.
how powerful is it for an employee to know that their company has their best interest in mind? I mean, that supersedes that 3% raise.
Yes. Yeah, love it. Before we close out our segment, I have a couple questions that maybe some takeaways for our listening audience and viewing audience right now. It's summer here in Arizona, at least the time that we're airing this live. What is the best way to stay hydrated?
It's pretty obvious to drink water, but you
Is
want to make sure that you're drinking. Well, yeah, first and foremost, drink water, right?
Yeah.
And it is important though that you're drinking water that has minerals in it. We drink a lot of like reverse osmosis or purified or bottled water, and oftentimes that water is void of minerals. And these are like the electrolytes that we hear so much about, right? Sodium, magnesium, potassium, phosphorus, bicarbonate, calcium. And so there's a lot of different electrolyte supplements out there. You can even just put a pinch of sea salt in your water to remineralize it a little bit, but that goes a long way towards actually driving the water into the cells, actually the water being absorbed into the
Mhm.
cells. And so that's a good way of doing it. Just be cautious of some of the electrolyte supplements and the amount of sugar. It shouldn't have sugar in
Mhm.
it. And so like Gatorade as an example is like, listen, that's a glorified soda. So
Right.
just some electrolyte supplements that are just minerals, minimal sugar, fruit, vegetables, right? Eating nutrient dense foods. So watermelon, cantaloupe, apples, celery, lettuce, cucumbers.
They have so much
They're
water.
they're mostly
Yeah.
water.
Yep.
And by the way, our body is mostly water.
Yes.
Right. And so we need this hydration for literally every cellular function to occur in the body, from digestion to joint health to brain health, to absorption of nutrients,
Mhm.
all of the chemical reactions in our body are required from water.
Mhm. Inflammation.
Inflammation is a nebulous term. And so I think, well, one is certainly making sure that you're hydrated. But I think when it comes to inflammation, we need to look at overall nutrition, saying, okay, the amount of real food to processed food. One of the things that we talk about with our clients is single ingredient food,
Mm.
right? Is saying, if we're reading a label that's 20 ingredients long,
And we
and then
don't
we
know what
have
half those
an
things are.
apple,
Yeah.
or a chicken breast versus a Tyson chicken tender breaded, Like there's a difference in terms of the
Yeah.
number of ingredients, how processed it is. And I think generally, if we can help our clients and individuals move towards more wholesome single ingredient foods, they're going to be getting more nutrition. It's going to be better digested, absorbed, assimilated. There's going to be less inflammation that's created through processed sugars, through processed fats, and through the digestion process, through food sensitivities, which is a very real thing, as I've experienced for years and years. That's very, very important because
Mhm.
it's going to help with blood sugar regulation, with blood pressure regulation, with healthy blood fats, lipids. And so if we can quell that through more exercise, healthier food, and as you would probably talk about, a more realistic mindset around the process, that's going to help quite a lot.
Mhm. Hmm. So much information packed in a short hour. I'm so pleased that you're here today. Of course, it's personally really, I'm, doing my checklist in my
Yeah.
mind and grateful for the information. What is next for BSL Nutrition?
Yeah, so like I said, we're 100% online. We've got 3 full-time coaches and an absolutely incredible community
Yeah,
of
touch on that. You kind
individuals.
of plopped that down a little bit, and I didn't want to interrupt you, but I'm fascinated. So really, your community, it is a community.
It is a community, and we've come to the realization that despite the fact that we're in the online space, I think one of the really valuable lessons that we learned from COVID was we need human interaction. We need human connection, like just this dialogue right here, of
Hmm.
you and me being in the same room. It's so much better. It's so much different than you interviewing me via Zoom. And so, despite the fact that we work with so many individuals nationally, we really do have an extremely strong local community. And so, we have events quarterly for our local community, as well as
Great.
individuals come in from out of town all the time.
Yeah.
We have an annual kind of retreat that we bring all our clients into, and workshop for them to get together and connect. And we're building this online as well, as far as we have every single day, we have a group community coaching call. We have one for just women, we have one for just men to be able to support each
So
other. We
good.
have one for the group. And so the more and more opportunities that we can infuse for our community to connect, to support each other, it's just such a nice adjunct to the one-on-one coaching process. And so our next steps are really to continue to grow locally, frankly, despite the fact that, again, we are online.
Hmm.
We still want to continue to grow our local community because we realize how much value there is in us supporting each other, even in our own backyard.
Hmm. How do folks get in touch with you? You mentioned your website a bit ago. It's bslnutrition.com.
Yeah, bslnutrition.com, at BSL Nutrition on social media. I do have a podcast.
Hmm. Yeah, speak to that.
It's called the Smart Nutrition Made Simple Show. And so it's just talking about all of the things that we talked about today. But
So good.
I often do interview guests in health and fitness and supplementation and wellness experts in the field. Um,
Past episodes are on the website, but we can also find them on what platform? Your podcast.
the podcast is on all
Oh, okay, perfect.
Spotify, Amazon, iTunes.
And the name of the podcast again is?
The Smart Nutrition Made Simple Show.
Yeah, there you go. Sums up our conversation today.
Yeah,
Been really great to get to know you.
it's been great having the
Yes,
conversation. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
likewise. One more time, Ben Brown, owner of BSL Nutrition, right here in Arizona, but also across the globe. And find bslnutrition.com on the web, in addition to on social media. And I think we're connected. We're already connected on at least LinkedIn and
I think so.
Instagram, I think.
I'm just
Getting out
starting.
there?
I'm just starting to tackle LinkedIn.
Oh,
We're
good.
we're all over Instagram and Facebook, and we do have a private Facebook community called the Smart Nutrition Made Simple community on Facebook.
Have to be a
Uh,
client for that?
no,
Okay.
it's for
Private
anyone.
private group, but anybody can join
Private
and get a
group,
taste for
anyone
what the
can
community.
join. So come on over, and all you need to do is you do need to request, just
Sure.
so we can
Yeah,
make sure we're only getting quality people
I
in there.
love
But
it.
would love to have you in.
Good. And happy to hear that you're on LinkedIn. This just aired live on LinkedIn
Oh, sweet.
on Phoenix Business Radio X. And so we're going to help give you that little nudge in the right direction. And as you build more locally,
Yes,
this will be a great opportunity to
I
do that.
love it.
So,
I
again, thank you
appreciate
for
it.
spending your morning with us.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. You've been listening to Phoenix Business Radio, broadcasting live from Mac 6 Entrepreneur Workspace. Some media leans left, some lean right, and we lean business. Until next time, I'm Karen Nowicki. Thanks for listening.